This is Environmental Science 2, Chapter 13, Part 2 on population growth. In this portion of the video lecture, we will be specifically focusing in on how human populations and why human populations grow. Just like a single ecosystem has a carrying capacity, so a single ecosystem has a maximum amount of members that it can support, the Earth really as one whole biosphere also has its own carrying capacity. For all of the organisms on the Earth, not just people, but everything has to be supported by Earth. There's estimations where, as far as the human population goes, that Earth can support anywhere from 6 to possibly 16 billion people. Remember, at the present time in 2017, there's 7 billion people on the planet right now. Of course, one could argue that can the Earth really support 7 billion people? If you add 11 more billion people on the planet, what will Earth be like and what will different societies be like at that point? That's a question that scientists are trying to answer by predicting how fast human populations are growing. So as a species, we started out in very small tribes of individuals. We were hunter-gatherers many millennia ago in our human history. Hunter-gatherers are people that obtain food by hunting or fishing, and they gather wild plants. There are still populations of hunter-gatherers in the world today. Those populations are very small, and there's very few left in the world today. People that live this type of lifestyle often do not stay in one place permanently all year round. Because they hunt and gather, they have to move and go to where their food resources are. But there are still people living this way today, mostly in developing countries, places in Africa, certain remote parts of Asia and India, and South America still live in this manner. About 10,000 years ago, we had a little bit of a shift in what we did with our food. Instead of going from place to place and chasing the food, we decided to start to grow our own food and to raise our own animals. The agricultural revolution was a change from that hunter-gatherer society to a farming and raising animal type of culture. The agricultural revolution allowed for storage of food. So there was backups in case of lean times. If some resources were not available, there was at least stored food so people in the population would not starve and die. So very slowly over the agricultural revolution, the population increased. Again, if you are growing your own crops and raising your own animals, you want to stay in one permanent place. Raising larger families becomes an advantage. Because the larger family you have, the more workforce you have. The more people that are able to plant the crops, take care of them, raise the animals, and take care of them, the better off their little societies would be. There was a growth rate during the hunter-gatherer and the agricultural revolution. It was rather slow. We had a population boom to the human population between 1800 and 1930. The population went from under a billion to 3 billion very quickly within a short amount of time. There were many reasons for that. Throughout the 19th and early 20th century, we have improvements in healthcare and medicine. We finally understand as a human population how disease is spread and how to prevent those types of diseases. Nutrition improved once we were able to use artificial selection and selective breeding to make our crops better and produce more and to make our animals larger and fatter and more nutritious. We have improvements in sanitation, keeping city streets clean. does a lot, and city water supplies does a lot for maintaining the health of a population. People were able to live better quality lives and to live longer. During the mid-1800s, we hit the Industrial Revolution, and that extended into the mid-20th century, into the mid-1900s. Here we see another big boom in population. We have further improvements to life. We have further improvements in healthcare and medicine and sanitation and nutrition. Again, the better quality of life, the longer people are able to live, the longer people are able to live, the longer they're able to produce more offspring. Our population at present is still growing, but we are kind of at the tipping point a little bit and starting to slow that growth. Birth rates are actually decreasing in developed countries. Remember, developed countries are those what we call first world countries, places in the United States and Canada and Europe. Birth rates are actually slowing in those types of countries. There are actual scientists that study population patterns of human beings, and they are called demographers. So demography is taking a look at human population patterns. School districts actually have a demographer to predict populations, student populations from year to year, and when the student population in a school will be a little bit more and a little bit less. So we can really think of a demographer as a study of people patterns. When we take a look at how and why populations boom and bust or grow and slow their growth is the Notstein's theory of demographic transition. This theory suggests that both economic and social progress of the Industrial Revolution can affect populations in 3 different stages. We can also apply this to the Information Revolution, which is currently what most demographers and human scientists believe that we are in, is the Information Revolution. So in taking a look at demographic transition, you are taking a look at specifically developed countries. So again, places that are first world, so the United States, Canada, and Europe. So in stage 1, the growth rate is rather slow because both birth and death rates are fairly high. So the growth rate approaches a slow rate there in stage 1. Eventually, improvements are made to the quality of life of individuals in the population. Healthcare improvements, for example, again, people live longer and healthier, and they're able to have more offspring that are also healthy that can eventually produce their own offspring. So the growth rate increases in stage 2 by about 3% per year. And then eventually that population will reach a tipping point. Remember, populations cannot grow indefinitely. We have limits. We have limiting factors in populations. We have a carrying capacity of a population. So in stage 3, the birth rates will fall until it roughly equals the death rates. So the population growth either slows or it can actually stop completely. So stage 1 and stage 3 are very similar, except for in stage 3, you have massive improvements to the quality of life. Whereas in stage 1, that's where most developing countries are at. Places, again, in Africa and remote parts of India and Asia and South America. Those places are still in stage 1. Some developing countries, more populated areas in India and Africa and Asia are in stage 2. And mostly developed countries are somewhere in stage 2, and most are kind of in that stage 3. The reason why things slow down, even though life gets better, the quality of life gets better, the growth rate slows down in stage 3. People are, postponing marriage and childbearing. 150 years ago, it was not common for a 13 or 14-year-old girl to get married and start having babies. Then again, the average age, of a lifespan was maybe if you were 50, you were a fairly old person in the population, only at 50 years old. Whereas today we call that midlife. People are postponing childbearing. They're waiting to start their careers and build their finances before they have children. Children are now seen as an expense rather than a workforce, because people have moved from the farms into the big cities, and larger families are going to cost more to maintain. The United States, again, we're in stage 3 for the most part. Developing countries are in stage 1 or 2. We can actually take a look at the population of a country and see what stage they're in by using a population pyramid. This shows the age and the sex percentage in the population. So here we have kind of a couple of examples. We have Mexico, which is considered for the most part a developing country. So you can take a look at the age there from bottom all the way for the very youngins all the way to the top of the senior citizens of the community. And then, of course, the males are blue, females are pink. But you can see if between the differences between Mexico and the United States, there is a very large portion of the population that are under the age of 30. Whereas you take a look at the United States population, our bubble, wide bubble there seems to be anywhere from ages of 15 to ages of 30. We have a higher percentage of older people in our population. Again, developed countries have better health care and are made improvements for people to live longer. So we can actually see when in the population we have our kind of booms and busts. So booms and populations would mean a wide part of your population pyramid, and then a bust would mean a rather narrow part of the population pyramid. This has been Environmental Science 2, Chapter 13, Part 2 on population growth.